unabashedly real about the boss was born.
Okay, next movie. And our next movie is one of the most delightful films I've seen all year. It's called Big Night, and it's a comedy and a drama, and it's a great food movie, too. The movie stars Stanley Tucci as Secondo, the maitre d' at a great but struggling Italian restaurant in New Jersey. His brother is a brilliant
Big
chef,
Night.
but the
Yeah,
problem
yeah.
is the customers aren't smart enough to know great food even when they're looking at it.
Can I get a side of spaghetti with this, right?
What?
Well, no.
Well, all main course just come with spaghetti.
For some, yes, but you see, risotto is rice, so it is the starch, and it doesn't go really with pasta.
But I don't...
Honey. Order a side of spaghetti.
Down the street is another restaurant that serves more Americanized Italian food, and it's a big success. Its owner, named Pascal, is played by Ian Holm, who says he wants to help out these struggling guys and promises to get his friend, the jazz great Louis Prima, to come to Secondo's restaurant.
He's in town next week. You cook for him, eh? For his band. On a night off. Then who knows, the word to get around.
Secondo's older brother, Primo, was played by Tony Shalhoub. He's a genius in the kitchen but knows nothing about public relations and is unimpressed by all the fuss about Louis Prima.
People should come just for the food.
I know
They
that.
should come just for the food.
I know that. I know. But they don't.
The big night comes at last, and for the occasion, the shy Primo gets up the nerve to show off to the local florist he has a crush on.
To eat good food, you need to be close to God. See, you know what they say? To know God, to have the knowing. Knowledge? See, the knowledge of God is the bread of angels.
The movie was co-written by Stanley Tucci and Joseph Tropiano and directed by Tucci and Campbell Scott, who plays a local car salesman. And all I can say is this movie is one of those occasional miracles in which all sorts of wonderful things come together. There's a lot of truth in Big Night, a lot of laughter, and a lot of deep love of great food, which acts here as a metaphor for dreams, reassurance, and an expression of the human spirit. This is one of the year's best
It's
films.
an absolute delight, and I want to say that it also represents something else, which is a confidence by the filmmakers in being about something. We talk about this all the time. It's about food, and so the filmmakers take the time. And it wouldn't happen in most movies. Take time to show food and saying, you know what? If the characters love preparing food, and we can show that, and they can act it properly, then the audience will love watching an omelet being made and cut up and served beautifully.
And made perfectly. It's fascinating watching that omelet. And the risotto at the beginning. I would never use a line like this because it sounds like a movie critic. Somebody next to me in the theater said about this movie, you laugh, you cry, and then you want to eat Italian.
Make sure you haven't said it so
I
you
have
don't
not
get
said
quoted.
it. I have quoted somebody else as saying it, but this movie is really a lot of
It's
fun.
a delightful
terrific.
film. It's
Okay.
terrific. Coming up next, another film about a different kind of passion shows us the demonic side of the 20th century's greatest artist. Surviving Picasso is next.
You should have a child. You should have my child. Learn how to feel. Be a real woman. Be my woman.
That's Anthony Hopkins pulling off one of the most remarkable acting turnabouts in film history, going from convincingly playing Richard Nixon to convincingly playing the great artist Pablo Picasso. Both were controlling megalomaniacal men, I suppose, but Picasso was an infinitely more sexual being. The new film, Surviving Picasso, focuses on his love-hate relationships with his many wives and lovers who were the subject of so many. At the start of the film, in Paris during the Second World War, Picasso has a new love, a 23-year-old art student named Françoise Gillot, played by the stunning, confident newcomer, Natasha McElhone.
Is that what's happening? You're seducing me.
I think you're very sensitive. What's she looking at?
To demonstrate his love to Françoise, Picasso clearly brings her to meet his old flame, the legendary Dora Maar, played by Julianne Moore.
She's not going to last 15 minutes with you. Perhaps she thinks you'll immortalize her. Don't raise your hopes.
Of course, it is Picasso's closing art that turns out to be as well. And the best moments of Surviving Picasso for me are the few when painting is the subject as much as his personality.
Now, look at this. Obviously, it's a woman. It's you in your long black dress. You seem to be turning into a bouquet of flowers or a lilac bush. Very
I enjoyed Surviving Picasso for 3 reasons. It's a recreation by Anthony Hopkins, capturing the charm and the bravado of Picasso. He makes those memorable Life magazine photos from the 50s come alive. I remember seeing them as a boy, and I felt I was seeing them. The photo touches almost as real. I was also mesmerized by the presence of Natasha, giving a performance that goes way beyond beauty. And finally, I do treasure the film's all too few art-filled moments. The only question I have is, how important is it for those not personally involved that Picasso asking that kind of question?
Well, I just liked the movie, Gene. I was disappointed in it, and one of the things that bothered me was that it was told basically from the mistress's point of view, and the only thing in her life was that she was Picasso's mistress. This is like Rosencrantz and Guildenstern's view of Hamlet. You're kind of off stage. There is very, very, very little about painting and a great deal about a fairly unremarkable love affair. And to me, it was just the wrong approach to this material.
But I was absolutely fascinated by their relationship. That's the one part of the film that I think does work, because she's such a
Even
compelling
there, I
character.
thought the relationship was undercut by the narration, which sounds like some kind of an educational documentary. I mean, there's no real tone of voice in the narration. It's just more like we're going to take notes on what happened next in their
But didn't you
relationship.
think, weren't you sitting there fascinated at why he would do this to her when she seemed to be such a
No,
great
because
presence in
it
his
never
life?
told me enough about him for me to understand why he would do anything.
When we come back, Bruce Willis and Christopher Walken walk the dusty Texas streets in Last Man Standing.
Yeah, Last Man Standing. I love that movie. It's so bad. No. No.
Planning on sticking around?
No. Oh my.
Don't be coming to me for help. You're on your own here. We already got a fella in the window of the Undertaker. Do yourself a favor. First thing, get a firearm.
And that happened just 15 minutes after a new stranger arrives in town. The cynical sheriff there is played by Bruce Dern, and Bruce Willis stars in Last Man Standing, which tells a story based on the Ojimbo famous samurai film by Akira Kurosawa. That movie also inspired A Fistful of Dollars, which remade it with a certain sense of humor. But Last Man Standing has
Let's go.
no drama and no interest, and is one of the most depressing films I've seen in a long time. This scene is typical
That's so
of a lot
funny.
of others. The setting is a nearly deserted town in Prohibition-era Texas. Willis, playing a man who says his name is John Smith, finds out that the town is controlled by two gangs.
All right, focus.
Guess maybe you'll have to kill me.
One of the local gangs, the Strozzi gang, is run by characters played by Ned Eisenberg, who in this scene confronts.
Really want to get killed for a half
The rival gang has as its first lieutenant a feared gunfighter played by Christopher
Let's
Walken.
go.
Not Finn. He's Doyle's best shooter.
I thought you were the best.
No, just the best.
It was a long series of and even the photography was depressing. Last Man Standing is shot in washed-out reds and browns, and looks like it, as well as all of the people in it, have been left out too long standing in the sun.
Oh, I think it is very depressing, Roger. I suppose
It's so
the only
funny. I
thought
love
that
this
could have
review.
been in Walter Hill's mind, the director's mind, was
I disagree
I'm just
with
going to
this
show
series.
how sick and stupid
10.
killing is.
3,
You know, and in other words,
3.
it's just,
Hell
I'm going to wallow in it in some way. But here's the problem. He takes such joy in showing the explosion of the bullets that
The technical side.
the technical side, that you can see that the guys are they must